As promised, welcome back. Sprockets and bearings is the subject of today's episode. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of paint thrown in and some other discoveries along the way. So thanks for tuning in again, and if you haven't already, do subscribe, and if you haven't encouraged any of your friends to watch me, why not? What's wrong with me? Please do. Need more subscribers, need more viewing. Keep it rolling. To the job in hand. Front sprocket, and wheel bearings. Yes, that's what we're going to be tackling today. Now here he is, thoroughly nice chap. Brilliant explanation about everything in detail. Thoroughly recommend. Very good, better than me, which is probably why he's got 1 million more subscribers. He didn't end up with shit all over his nose. That's because he had his wife doing the filming, and yeah, he flicked the thing at his wife, not himself. Guess he's done it before. So that was the result of taking this out with a screwdriver, just levering this out with a screwdriver. Seal, and then there's this spacer, which had already just falls out nicely. So next stage apparently is to clean this up. Lovely. We love cleaning. I managed to clean my face up a little bit anyway. Del Boy was working on a Triumph, and the Triumph had a C-clip and a ridge that held that in place. Clearly Yamaha don't think that's necessary because there is no C-clip, as you can see. So I guess we just start easing this out from the other end. Now it's just a matter of smacking it with a hammer and something that will push it out. I'm using this. I started off using this, probably not a good idea, and the rubber mallet, but too much flexibility. It needs to be a sharp hit. Well, it only took him 2 or 3 hits. I guess he's got a bigger hammer. Anyway, it's coming, and of course at this point you need to raise the thing off the level, right? So find something you can wedge it between, a couple of blocks of wood that sit actually on the nuts rather than the sprocket, otherwise you might end up bending that, and that'll be the final smack with the hammer, we hope. There you go. 4x2 would have been better, give me a little bit more clearance, but I think that'll be enough. And we're free. 1 wheel bearing removed. Again, as per instruction from Del Boy, just cleaning up that inside where it's all going to sit. Make sure there is nothing in there that's going to interfere with the placement of the bearing, the new bearing. Yes, I have a feeling things are going to get messy. And this is where the grease comes into play. So it's only on the outside edge, and Del Boy is very specific about it not getting on the bottom of the seal of the bearing, because sealing it against that bottom lip is crucial. So you don't want anything getting in there. So Del Boy knows best. I'm going to do just that carefully, but before I do, I'm going to open another bottle of wine before I get too mucky. No, I haven't drunk a whole bottle already. It was just a little dribble left over from last night. Very nice wine, thoroughly recommend it actually. Get a lot of wines through nakedwines.com, and yeah, chose this one, well, because of the label obviously. A very good friend of mine's sister is called Arabella, and she's into horses, so this was an obvious choice. It was a sign, and actually it's very good. So thoroughly recommend. Yeah, Del Boy doesn't give you tips on wine while he's doing the stuff, does he? By the way, don't throw the old bearing out just yet. You're gonna need it. Yes. All right. So this is not so easy to do one-handed. Where's my not so glamorous assistant when I need him? David, where are you? If you haven't watched any of my Lancia Stratos replica build videos, you won't know who David is. Anyway, there we go. Lightly greased, probably a little too much, might take a bit of that off. And apparently the next item on the agenda is to just push it in gently, forcefully but gently, using the fingers only. Again, on Del Boy's bike, that worked beautifully for him. Obviously, line it up as square as you can before doing that, and he got it almost kind of flush. Not for me, because this bike probably hasn't been looked after as well as his. And this is where the old bearing comes in. You don't want to be smacking that with something that is going to damage it. So if you use this, which is a complete match for the ring, then you're all good to go. So now, okay, so I just continue tapping that in gently, little by little, around it, so it goes in evenly until it's seated nicely. Apparently you can hear the difference when it actually hits rock bottom, which it hasn't yet. I'll let you know if you can. And meantime, apparently it's really easy to get that out again, because obviously that's started to go in. But I'm not so confident again, because the Yamaha system doesn't use a circlip, so I'm figuring that's a pretty fucking tight fit all the way around. I might try and get that out now. Okay, so I dislodged the old bearing just using a screwdriver, very carefully giving it a tap, because it was only just in the other side, as you can see. And I'm going to hopefully use one of my large new sockets to get that the rest of the way. Well, it was a cunning plan, but even they're not big enough. Needs to be on that outer edge, and it's not. So I don't know what to do at this point. I guess I shall just continue on the Del Boy route and put the old bearing back and keep tapping it, hoping that I can get it out again at the end. Well, I would say that's pretty flush. And did I notice a difference in the tone of the hammer? Maybe. You've got to be familiar with that before that kicks in. Looks good to me. So now to get the other bastard out. That one. Yep, that works. So a very thin, small flat blade, just so you can get in there without damaging the new bearing on the edge of the old bearing, and it pushed out no problem, so that's good. And again, just firm but gentle taps with a hammer. So now that's in, it's just a question of putting that initial seal back, or not back. So this is a nasty grungy one that came out. Not too bad actually. Anyway, got a brand new one, part of the kit, and that requires a little bit of grease around the outside only. See, then this is different. So I had that piece to add on top, and then this piece, another seal. So I'll clean that up and put that on as well. So grease, lovely, just a little bit, and around that outer edge. Which has all been cleaned up, as you saw, so there's no nasty Arizona desert grit in there. Just nice, fresh, new grease. I should do that as well. I want to do that. While I'm greasing, I want to do that. Okay, because that's going to sit on a shaft, and probably want to be lubricated, one would imagine. Anything sitting on a shaft would be best lubricated. No? Then apparently we just push that in. Yeah, right, it's definitely got bigger hammer. So this is where my big 38mm, whatever it is, yes, 36mm. Yeah, this is where this came in, because that fitted on that seal nicely, just to give it a gentle persuasion with a rubber hammer. That's now flush. This boy goes back in here that he didn't have on the Triumph. And then the other seal, which interestingly didn't get replacement, sits on top there. Flush and job done. One wheel bearing replaced. 2 to go, which apparently will have to be tomorrow because yeah, it's getting late, boys need a walk, and it's just rained, so it's quite cool. So at this point, Del Boy's video is of no use whatsoever because his Triumph does not have this. So we've got like a bull race bearing in there, little cylinders, and I'm guessing that has to come out first before attack that bearing, which looks kind of swollen and pushed out from the other side, which is probably a good time to call it a day. Do some more googling, yodeling on YouTube. Is that what it is? Yodeling. I think it should be yodeling. Anyway, I might do some more of that tomorrow when I should be working, and see what I can find out. So on the Yamaha, we've got another one of these double seal situations. So firstly, we have this kind of cover and that, and then we had another one of these. This is the new one, and I got the old one out eventually. There's your C-clip, and I don't know where the old one is because it kind of pinged up over there somewhere, landed somewhere near the Augusta. Can't find it. I'm sure Monkey will. So I'm just going to remove that, and then I'm going to take the boys for a walk, I promise. And for that, you're going to need a pair of these C-clip removers, except you're going to need a bigger pair because mine won't reach. Really? Actually, they're too big. They stretch far enough after all, but yeah, they're just not getting, the end of them is too big, so they're not getting in enough. I will not be defeated. Yes, I got it out using 3 screwdrivers, and yes, so now I guess we can knock that out. I don't know how to get that bull race out. Just so happens my favourite extension for wrenches and things is the perfect radius, circumference and diameter, which will all be related, to knock this boy out. So we're getting there. I wish I had videoed that because I decided to do it upright to give myself the flexibility of it coming out, and of course it did. It narrowly missed my glass of wine and ended up on the bench. Job done. Do not attempt this at home on your own without the supervision of an adult. And apparently it wasn't quite the perfect radius because it's now stuck inside the wheel bearing. I'm sure I can get it out, but... So at that point I'm definitely calling it a day for today, because I've probably mullered the C-clip. This is the other old wheel bearing that I've put just rested on top to protect that nicely cleaned. Yeah, I cleaned it. So that's just nestled in there to keep that clean, and we shall return tomorrow to fight another day, hopefully having worked out how to get this out sensibly. I mean, there's always a way, but try and find the best way. Another day, another t-shirt. Well, actually you've seen this one before probably. It is still raining. Well, actually, it's not still raining. It's not like England where it rains for days on end. It's more like a tropical storm thing where it rolls in at about 4 o'clock every afternoon, or at least it's supposed to. Yes, monsoons. Thoroughly recommend a video called Monsoon 2 and 3. That's in Roman numerals. Just Google it, you'll find it. Fantastic. That's the kind of storms we have here. Talking of Googling, I'm back to the wheel and bearings, and I have found my bearings. Found another video specifically with the Yamaha R6, so I have knowledge on specifics. So before we do anything this end, we'll be knocking out the needle bearing on the other end. Well, I was re-watching the video, and this time, because I was struggling to really get in there with a screwdriver or anything like that, and I noticed step 5. Very hard, highly recommend to do the job with a bearing puller. I eventually needed to damage the hub. Yes, damage the hub a bit. Don't want to be doing that. Supposed to be repairing things, not damaging things. So it looks like we need another tool. So I shall put that to one side for a minute and replace all those, because we won't be needing them. So instead I shall be rewrapping this, mainly because I've kind of got out what I needed, and I just want to protect it again. Yeah, that's asking for trouble. So I won't be videoing that, because that would be really boring. And I'll be cutting out 2 new ones of these with the holes in the right places, so I won't video all that again. I may show you the finished result. So that's that bit tidied up, and I took the opportunity to join my new 10 gauge, and I'll be wrapping that up too. Apparently these emissions pipes are very useful for storing scissors temporarily, as are the handlebars, of course, for the tape. Bit of a dilemma as to where to cut it. I obviously want to allow myself a little scope, but the question is, if the ECU does end up going up here, which it may well, then it would only have to be very, very short. But if it does end up back here, then it would have to be a little bit longer. So I don't know whether to cut it at all at this point, or just leave it all dangling. Oh, I think that's what I'm going to do for now. I'm going to leave it dangling with the rest of the dangling party. Changed my mind, yes, that quickly. So I've cut it to the length, the maximum length it's going to need to be, and joined it so that I can kind of work it in. You wanted to get all that stuff covered up, honestly. Put the tank on again, just resting it in place, just to get a rough idea about what kind of space I've got underneath the back end of it, where all that wiring is kind of clumping, and there's not a lot. So I need to bear that in mind, that most of that's going to be taken up by fuel lines and connectors to the tank. There's a little bit of space, but yeah. So back onto this, and I'm lining up the hole that I had to drill with a hole in here. I was anyway, and I reckon I can get both of them out of this piece if I'm lucky. If not, we've got a little bit more, but I like to keep wastage at a minimum. 45 minutes later, yes, that's how long it took me. But I just wanted to get it right, and it's right. Lovely. I look forward to doing the other side tomorrow. If only I had a plasma cutter. Yes, I would have done it in, well, I'd have had to draw it obviously on CAD, and that's kind of the point with that stuff, which Mikey made out the point when we did the dash on the Stratos. If you watch that episode, you'll notice that the edge, the actual outer edge, was just square, because he couldn't be bothered to measure it all up and draw it in the CAD for effectively what's a one-off, maybe 2 or 3, who knows, but it's easier to finish it by hand than spend all that time drawing it on the CAD. So yes. Now what's he up to? Well, yes, it's that under tray for here. It's only a mock-up at this stage, so a little bit of cardboard, very, very rough trace by placing it in the screw hole with a screwdriver, and mapping that out on a bit of corrugated cardboard. Stage 1 of the template cutting. I mean, you don't have to use plastic corrugated cardboard if you haven't got it, just any old box Will do. Thank you. In fact, yes it will, because yeah, I don't want to waste that bit of perspex just in case it comes in handy for something else. So I'm using a bit of any old cardboard. And there you have it, an instant tray. So it's going to need a little bit of scooping out over there, because that's where those throttle cables go. I don't think you can see that, can you? Yeah, just there is the throttle cables. So that might need a little bit of scooping, but otherwise we're all good, and we have a large area to place things like regulators. There you go. Probably not slap bang in the middle, because we might want to squeeze the ECU in there. So maybe that'll go like that. Who knows? Or maybe it'll come off something that hangs at the top. Or actually, maybe it'll just hang there. Wow. Yes, what a great idea. Yeah, so we have a tray. Well, we don't. We've got the beginnings of a tray. And yes, how would we mount it? Question. And you might remember there's a bolt hole up here already. So that's the front sorted. And for the back, I think we've got quite a lot of frame here to deal with. So I'm thinking drill a 10mm hole and use one of these boys. Yes, my new favourite devices. I think that will work beautifully. Or I could be very industrious and just drill a smaller hole and tap it. But I like those rivet nuts. Yeah. So I shall replace my beautifully intact corrugated plastic so it lives to fight another day. In case you thought I was joking, I really like that idea. It's beautifully simple, and we like simple. Just one Allen bolt, and my new wiring reaches it perfectly, slots in the side. That is a job done, with plenty of room underneath for sandwiches or yeah, maybe an ECU. No, I like the idea of air-cooled sandwiches, or potentially toasted sandwiches in Arizona in the summer. We don't need no stinking microwaves. Talking of which, I just noticed that big gaping hole in the frame, and that reminds me of my idea with the Ducati, if you watched that episode, to feed the wiring through the frame. And why don't these manufacturers do that? I mean, there's loads of bloody room in there, right? It's hollow, and instead of feeding all this wiring on the inside close to the motor, why not put it in the frame? I might even do that, you know, because all I need to do is drill a hole in the frame down here, pass the wiring up, except it's got all the connectors on it, so it becomes a pain in the arse. But why don't manufacturers do that? Such a good idea. Is it too late to patent the idea of in-frame wiring loom? I don't know. I think it's a good idea. If you know of any manufacturer that has done that, I'd be delighted to read your comments. So yeah, if you know of anything, shove it in the comments down here somewhere. Not in my wine glass, but down the bottom there. At this point, while the storms are raging and I'm working out what kind of wheel bearing puller thing I need, I think we're going to call it a day for this episode. And we shall conclude the wheel bearing fitting next episode, along with more electrical work and that tray. We'll get that in place, and the bodywork and all kinds of other things. So as usual, thanks for watching. Really appreciate the support. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Need subscribers, and encourage others to watch my lunacy.